Wii Wonders!
Welcome, wonderful watchers, to Wii Wonders, a Wii game review series by me, Souldin of the Grin Brothers. This episode will cover the Wii game, Dewy's Adventure, a platformer game developed by Konami and published by Konami. Let's begin playing then! It's Waggle time!
Story time!
Dewy's Adventure is a story within a story. For when a young boy encounters a woman resting by a tree, she reads to him the enchanted story of Dewy and Don Hedron. This story of crystal waters and emerald greens technically starts off with another story, as it begins in the mists of time when the Ewe and their tree of 7 colours are attacked by Don Hedron and his black water. The life-granting tree gives birth to Dewy, a drop of water with control over temperature, the wind, and earthquakes to combat this evil. Don Hedron was defeated and Dewy disappeared into the annals of history. Until they weren't. The Don returned, swiftly tainting the land and snatching all but one of the tree's colourful fruits. So the tree had to summon the legendary Dewy once more, though of a slight unfortunate case of amnesia for our watery protagonist. At long last, the story of this game begins with Dewy setting off to defeat Don Hedron, recover the 6 rainbow fruits, save all the captured Ewes, and apparently be judged by how quickly you can do all of this. The story is rather simple, with even its amnesiac Dewy plotline not really affecting anything, but the game is happy to remind you of its tale. Every chapter/world clear presents a beautiful artwork of the boy and lady continuing their reading session by the tree. The game even goes the extra mile by sending a letter to your Wii message board, asking the player if they are up to its challenge as you tilt Dewy across this journey. Okay, this is a cool little extra I wasn't expecting. I got a letter from Dewy's Adventure? Journey with Dewy is about to begin. A great many exciting adventures await. Do you have what it takes to defeat the evil Don Hedron and restore peace to the world? Like, it actually sent me a letter through the game itself. Like, that's crazy. It's a bare bones story, but little touches like these add plenty of charm that makes its colourful world of traditional platforming locations rather endearing.
Instruction time!
The genre is platformer, but the core of Dewy's Adventure is one long game of balance, with movement controlled by the tilt of the Wii Remote. Holding the lone Wii Remote horizontally, you tilt the controller in order to tilt the world of Dewy's Adventure, with Dewy sliding along with varying momentum in accordance to that tilted world. Naturally, how much you tilt the controller will affect how fast Dewy slides in the tilted direction, and there is a slippery delay to Dewy changing directions, regardless of how quickly you move that Wii Remote. There are options available to adjust the tilting, with high tilt making all movements swifter from even subtle tilts, low tilt requiring more emphasized maintained motions for movement, and normal tilt having a balance of the two. They all have a slightly different feel, so it's worth experimenting to see which will suit you. Tilting is utilised to aim attacks and even manipulate some objects, but other motion controls are at play, such as waggling the Wii Remote up and down or shaking it side to side. A gust of wind can be summoned from up and down motions, whilst side to side actions bring forth an earthquake. Given the tilted position your Wii Remote will often be in, these motions may be interpreted at the same time, so it's fortunate that the windy weather and shaking ground can coexist. Some of these motions will appear in other contexts, such as propelling Dewy from a launch flower, but the required crazy motion will be displayed on screen for you. The controls are more than just waving about that Wii Remote, a repetitive action that can befuddle a controller's understanding of a neutral position, so it's lucky that you can reset the neutral position with the tap of the A button. See, this would have been a tip that would have been really handy to know beforehand. I mean, because it's my fault, you know, don't know where the manual is. I know we have one somewhere. But, yeah. That helped a lot with the ice levels, redoing some of those sort of thing. You can control Dewy directly with actions like the 2 button to jump, with a longer hold on the button increasing the height of Dewy's jump, and a press of the 1 button whilst jumping has Dewy perform his hip slam attack. The 1 button is the overall attack button, having Dewy rain down lightning in his mist form or perform a spin attack in his ice form. Speaking of his other forms, those are accessed via the D-pad, up direction turning Dewy to mist and down direction turning him to ice. Dewy's lightning in this mist form is directed by Wii Remote tilting, and the strength of said lightning can be charged up by how long the attacking 1 button is held down for. Meanwhile, the ice form gets an upgrade to the hip slam attack, with the ability to turn it into a triple combo by repeatedly pressing the 1 button. You can also control the camera, but this is exclusive to the goodie mode. Whilst editing a level, the A and B button rotates the camera, but when playing a goodie mode level, the left and right directions of the D-pad are used instead. These controls are mostly comfortable, with a good range on the jump and a fast-acting hip slam allowing for rapid attacks when the need rises. The many commands on the D-pad during goodie mode is cramped, and results in incorrect inputs. However, this doesn't affect the rest of the game. The tilt options do, although the differences between them are mostly subtle. What will more likely affect your tilting controls is the camera angle, whether the positioning is nice and clear or angled awkwardly, like in Restless Ruins.
Action time!
The controls are the gameplay, or that would be the case if balancing to the end goal was the only objective. Each level has 100 Ews to rescue, a health shard to gather to increase Dewy's health, and a variety of nifty secret items hidden away in ice-melting volcanoes, mist-defying ice lands, and tongue-filled jungles. Preventing you from gathering these creatures and collectibles are various baddies, bumbling dronkos that are understandably shaken from earthquakes, monster-vomiting gibbots, these wickedly weaving gulpies, and many more. At many points you'll be forced to take down a swarm of these foes, or lengthier encounters with the black-hide mini-bosses of lizards and robots, in order to progress, so combat plays quite a role. The go-to method for most of these battles is to stun the enemies with Dewy's mist form lightning, and then triple combo them with Dewy's ice form, although you will need to be swift and precise with this. Not just for fear of throwing Dewy off the stage, but also due to his forms having a time limit. Dewy's form changes occur from changing his temperature, so eventually he'll return to room temperature? This temperature control isn't just for combat purposes, but also for platforming puzzles. From using the lightweight mist form to be carried away by wind and smoke, to using the chilly ice form to freeze water and create bridges, there's a lot of creativity to the levels. And it's not just reserved for the temperature abilities. Water Dewy can cling and swing from ropes, albeit with odd momentum. His quakes can destroy blocks, and his wind can lift platforms. And lift lifts. With so many little problem solvers, there's plenty of fun variety to be had in the levels. Except for in Restless Ruins. Along with being deceptively creative, this game can be deceptively hard, especially if you care about scores. Underneath its cute presentation, Dewy will test you with narrow roads, sneaky hiding spots for the constantly crying Ews, and a judgmental timer that will prepare a low grade if you take too long saving everyone. Steady hands and precise jumps can be required for many of the obstacles, but Dewy's shadow is minuscule and tricky to spot in the colourful worlds. Thankfully, the game's frustrations are offset by its forgiveness. Damage is only dished out in half a dewdrop from all attacks and falls, with life-restoring life dews being relatively easy to find. Most of the life shards are also straightforward to obtain, so you'll soon have plenty of spare health for errors during your trials. The biggest challenge you'll ultimately face is judging where you should tilt based on some of the dynamic and shifting camera angles, which can prove bothersome, like in Restless Ruins. For all the temperature testing environments of Volatile Volcano and the cool climate of Clammy Cave, the highlight of the game may actually be its bosses. In these small arenas, showdowns against butt jars and draconic caterpillars take place, with Dewy either having to wait for his giant opponents to tire out or deflect attacks back at them. There's a bit of a puzzle to each of these fights, with pretty much all of them favouring the combat-oriented ice form. Sometimes you'll directly smack down the big bosses, and other times you'll need to set up wee motion circumstances. Whether it be trapping cute ice maidens in rainbows or turning Dewy obese from too much water, you best follow the on-screen prompt and waggle away to deal devastating damage. The bosses can take a little bit of figuring out, but are overall a varied blast to defeat. Except for Restless Ruins' Mummydron. You can check out these bosses as well as enemies, Ews, and Dewy's forms in the Hub Worlds gallery. Along with little info tidbits and 3D model viewing, you unsurprisingly can listen to the melodies of the game. More distinct than the pleasant tunes are the tips and tricks, handy pieces of advice that are oddly rewarded to you at the end of each level. They come with amusing comedy sketches of your supposedly nefarious enemies mucking about. Keep a keen eye and you'll even spot some familiar electric fellas making a cameo appearance. There is also the Hall of Records, which presents all the levels you've played and your performance in them. What's interesting about this is that it not only showcases your best rankings within a level, but also your worst. It's quite neat actually to see how much you've improved at a level. Finally, there is the photo gallery, as you can pause during levels to take screenshots which will then appear in said gallery. Said photos will disappear from the gallery once you turn off the game, so you best add on a fancy frame to your favourite ones and mail them to your Wii message board. This photo gallery can also be accessed in the Goodie mode, Dewy's Adventures Challenge / Multiplayer / Level Creator mode. Hidden away in Dewy's Story mode are various terrains, gimmicks and blocks that you can use to build single player or multiplayer courses with and tackle one of 3 objectives: defeating all enemies, collecting all the stars and racing to collect all the stars. You can create a level by selecting a terrain, divided into multiplayer and single player categories, then get to work placing down parts. You have a part limit, but it's very generous, and while starting points are swept out right away, you can reposition them. There's a lot of experimenting needed with the level creator, as few words or guidance are given, and whether a wind-blowing totem will send you far enough across a gap, and which water droplet will heal or hurt you, will be discovered through trial runs. If your own ideas don't pan out, like my attempt at a bowling lane here, you can always challenge yourself to the preset custom levels. It'll be odd to adjust to how form changes drain health in this mode, but there are some novel ideas presented, and the enemy, star, and time attack challenges give you alternative ways to experience levels. And then there are the multiplayer levels, where the chaotic tracking of your health bar goes from worrying to hilarious as you compete in matches with 2, 3, or 4 Deweys. Twists and turns can be hard enough for Dewy, without his differently coloured counterparts splitting the screen. Therein lies the fun, managing to survive as you control your camera and keep focusing on your small square, knowing that other Deweys can strike at you with mist and ice form powers like yourself. There's a few things you can customise in these multiplayer sessions, making it harder for some and easier for others, with crazy possibility for the time limit setting. Apparently you can also choose to entertain yourself purely with the sound of Dewy's voice squeaking out of the Wii remote.
Do that one first.
Okay.
Okay, it did make a noise.
And it also shows off the colours. Don't even know if this one's on for that reason.
Yep.
There we go. It's yellow.
Cool.
Okay. Let's do this. 2 Wii remotes.
Oh.
Ending time.
Waggle time is over, and the 2 questions left to answer are as follows. What are my overall thoughts on this game, and who do I recommend this game for? Dewy's Adventure is a charming game, a creative game, and a game that drove my blood pressure to unsafe levels. The time-ticking speedrunning element clashes with the EU collecting and secret searching element, which can make the looming grade a disheartening experience. Ignoring this though, and keeping in mind your generous attack range, swift retry options, and plentiful health you'll later require, and the frustrations should fall down under the weight of the fun. As mentioned, the bosses are particularly fun, and the mini-bosses become a very entertaining exercise once you've gotten a handle of the game. As for who I would recommend this game for, well, I wouldn't say younger kids, despite the PEGI-free age rating. The balancing action, narrow paths, and quirky camera perspectives might be too tricky, especially Restless Ruins. A steady-handed child, or one who's already experienced a handful of games, would be a good fit though. Skill isn't an obstacle to enjoying the multiplayer mode, with the mania of it being swell for gaming gatherings and the level editor being a relaxing feature that will get players putting imagination and thought to good use. Though the Wii Remote in balancing is an unconventional method of control, the game's timekeeping and other recorded statistics make it ideal for gaming challenges. 100% playthroughs, least falls and speedruns are all encouraged goals of this game, driving a competitive aspect to it. Whether you choose to play the Wii wonder that is Dewy's Adventure is up to you, but either way, I hope you enjoyed this review and thank you for watching.
Okay,
Right.
who's going to win? It's 1 second thing.
Damn it!
Oh, I won! You took a... No, no,
No.
okay. Yeah, we're both winners! New hint! Oh!
Don't kill yourself.
Thank you for watching. Cheerio.